Hi, and here we are back for another episode of Women of Worth. And I was just informed, or corrected, I should say, that this is actually our 8th episode. I can't believe it's been, we've done 8 shows already. So we had, if you tuned in on our previous show, the 7th show, we had some pretty fabulous guests, one being Michelle's mom, and that was pretty fantastic.
Awesome. It was great. It was a really good show. I'm Michelle LaChapelle, by the way.
Oh yeah, and I'm Kelly Bold.
That's Kelly.
Thank you. But you know us by now.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that was a really that was a good show for my mom to come out here and do because of just a lot of things that had just happened in her life. We lost my stepdad, and so I told her how brave she was to come all the way out here to do this show. She's from the western part of the state, so it was a trip for her.
Nice little day trip.
It was a good show.
It was good for her. It was good for you. It was good for the show.
Yeah.
It was so I hope you were able to, all of you out there in the audience world were able to watch that and learn something from both of our guests, Lori Gannon, who is a good friend of yours and who I've also known for many years. She's done some great things as well and was able to publish her first book. And it sounds like Michelle is going to be helping and supporting her and really pushing her to maybe work on a second. So exciting things.
Yeah. It's fun to be in the writing process with somebody. So Lori's in my writing class, and we just have a great time. So like we said, everybody has a story. So
exactly.
Maybe I'll write mine someday. That's what I think I said last show. So I think I might be stuck to that.
I think you have to now.
Yeah.
You do have a book that you had mentioned that you have been working on for several years, so maybe bringing it to that next level, which would be...
It's hard when you publish because, especially when you're an independent publisher, especially when it's a picture book, just the technical details and, getting a illustrator and things like that, it's just difficult.
Right.
So anyway, but today... We actually have a repeat guest, which is really exciting because we have 8 shows. We have a repeat guest, so we'll get to her, to Marie, in a minute. But I just wanted to talk really quickly about, these women are facing many challenges in their life. So I said, Kelly, what should we talk about at first? And I said, why don't we talk about challenges? And what challenges in our lives, what have they done to us? I said obstacles, but I really mean challenges. When you come up against some kind of challenge in your life, what do? Do you lay down? Do you curl up in a ball? Do you, get up and fight? What do you do? Do you find support? Are you an activist in whatever happened in your life? So I think that's... For myself, many challenges, and when I picked myself up after my first husband passed away, I don't think I ever shared that with the audience. When I picked myself up after his death, and a lot of people would say to me, "Oh, you're so brave, you're so strong," and I thought, well, I didn't ask for this. First of all, I didn't ask for it, and second of all, I guess I had no choice.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're faced with something that, well, I guess you do have choices, but you chose to rise above it, and you have in such a remarkable way that that you just it's good. It's all good stuff, and what you have now done with bringing the show. Really, I know it was something that you always had in the back of your mind, but bringing it to reality and for us, and for me personally, meeting all these fabulous, fantastic ladies who I feel like are an inspiration to me. So I just, it's been quite a good challenge and doing the show.
I know.
But it's bringing us to a wonderful place.
It is.
And we're sharing some pretty great stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened is a path was set, and I was choosing all these different things to do in life, and those different things led me here.
Yeah.
to be on a show with
It did.
and be sharing
Yes.
all these wonderful women
Definitely.
with our audience.
Yes.
So, without further ado.
So I think I'll start.
Yes.
So we do have two guests with us here today, and each of them both have pretty remarkable stories, which I know that all of you at home will be just amazed and maybe inspired in your own ways. And it may, even it may even hit home for some of you who may be experiencing similar situations. So don't mind me. I'm just going to read because I want to make sure that I get everything right about one of our guests, who is Lynne Wood. She lives in Uxbridge and is the proud mom of her two children, who I believe you said they're adults now.
Yes, they are.
Allison and Derek. Professionally, she works as a manager of trade shows and exhibitions. Lynne is a 10-year survivor of stage 3 cancer. In 2011, after being diagnosed with cancer, she feels truly she came alive, finding positive ways to inspire others who may be facing similar journeys. Lynne is always willing to share her story and the many blessings through various audiences and platforms. So today we are super honored to have Lynne here to share with us and all of you. So welcome, Lynne.
Thank you.
And I'll introduce Marie as well, and then we'll kind of get into the meaty
Nitty
stuff.
gritty of it.
Well, you might recognize Marie from our first show, Marie Allen Hadge. So she was on our first show with Marcia Mariner, and we really just kind of grazed the topic of your cancer diagnosis. So we asked you back because we really thought that that was important to really share your story and Lynne's story as well. So I'm going to read too. I'm going to read too. Well, I met Marie through the women's group with Marcia Mariner, who was also our guest with Marie. And we're in this fantastic group of women who just share, and we share our life's challenges and experiences, and we're just held with loving embrace by other women, and they lift us up. So this is where I met Marie, who's a fantastic human being. So Marie is a retired senior director of quality in the biotech industry. She lives right here in Northbridge with her family. She's married, and she's a mom, and she's a grandmother of two beautiful children, two beautiful girls. Currently, Marie volunteers at Compassus Health in Auburn as a hospice companion for individuals as they approach their own unique end-of-life experience. And she's here today to share her story with us. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we thought we would start off with, let's start from the beginning. Which one of you want to go first?
I'll start.
Okay.
Okay, so from the beginning. So I was diagnosed in 2019, in May of 2019, and I didn't have really any side effects when, prior to my diagnosis. I ended up going into the hospital because I had severe stomach pain. Now, I thought it was because of taking ibuprofen for shoulder ache and compressed discs that I have in my neck. So I thought I was having an ulcer. And that's when they found the cancer. And so I was diagnosed 4 days after being in the hospital because it was a weekend and they had to wait until the following Monday to do the biopsy and give me all that information. So it was a lot of hush, hush, hush. I didn't realize that I was put on the oncology floor until after, a few days. And it's one of those moments that you just never forget. You never forget when you're given this diagnosis or, dreadful news of a terminal illness. And when the doctor entered the room, and my husband, thank goodness, was here, said, well, you have stage 4 terminal cancer. And I was just like in shock to begin with. And it was primarily hepatocellular. They used all these hepatocellular carcinoma, which is basically primary liver cancer that had metastasized to my lungs. So it was really shocking for me because I was living what I thought was a healthy life. I was working an awful lot, so my life was somewhat of a struggle and imbalanced. But the diagnosis was definitely a shock. It was extremely devastating, especially when they don't like to give you days or prognosis. But when they said you have months to possibly a year to live, and that your only treatment, this was of course over time, but your only treatment options are chemotherapy, and there's one chemotherapy drug that will work for this type of cancer, and it was an oral dose. I tried it, I didn't really feel like I had those choices that you spoke of earlier.
Right.
And it was toxic. It was, it was really just toxic. It only took 3 weeks for me to end up in the hospital a couple of times during those 3 weeks. Completely dehydrated, unable to eat, unable to really walk. I got every single side effect that you could possibly get from this particular chemotherapy. It just didn't agree with my body. And so I reached the point where I said to my husband that I would rather die than take another one of these pills. And so that was my decision, and that's where I was. So I don't know how much further you want me to go, but that's where I was, in terms of, that was my bottom, in terms of this diagnosis and where it brought me very, very quickly. I felt like I was okay going into the hospital, but once I was on the chemotherapy, I just felt like it really was killing me.
Right, and it hit home.
It really, I really wanted to die. I would rather die. I didn't want to die, but I would have rather die than feel that pain because it was so painful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and so that was just a couple months into it?
Yeah, that was about 1 month into the diagnosis.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And then you just said, "I'm not doing this anymore."
Yeah.
What else do you have for me?
So that happened rather quickly.
Yeah.
Of course, during that time I'm thinking, I'm planning my funeral, I'm trying to put all my affairs in order because I don't know how long I'm going to have to live. Like, will this be my last summer? Will this be my last Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever as time went on? But I switched doctors because I wasn't really happy with my doctor. And, I was given the option. I was at Dana-Farber, which is an amazing hospital, and I was given the option of an immunotherapy drug.
Is immunotherapy, is it relatively new?
I don't know how long it's been out, probably 10, 12 years or
okay.
so.
You hear it more as an option for treatment, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
And
is
sometimes
good.
in combination with chemo
Yes.
or radiation.
Right. Yes.
For
Okay.
me, it wasn't in combination with anything. It was nivolumab, or Opdivo is the brand name. And I said, okay, the choice I had was that or nothing, really.
Right.
And the chances of it working, it's never been used with my type of cancer,
Okay.
but the chance of it working was about 15 to 20% in typical people.
Right.
And so, if there's a message I had, it gave me hope, so that's
Right.
what I kind of banked on. I said, okay, we're going to do this. And so, it was an infusion. So I went in, and got my infusion every 4 weeks. And, and after 6 months, there was a drastic decrease in the size of the tumors. And
Fantastic.
the doctors were just like
Oh,
thrilled.
wow.
It had reduced in like 50 to 75% in size.
Such
So that
yeah.
even gave me more hope,
I was,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What a pioneer, though. You said, no, well, I'll
Yeah.
try it, because if you were the first one to use that, then now you've paved the road for others with your diagnosis.
Yes, yeah.
Or even similar diagnosis. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what you did.
Yeah.
You brought hope. You brought hope to other people.
And throughout that time, because that was like a 6 month, 8 month, 9 month period, as you mentioned, these support systems, you really need. And, you know, the family support I had, the support of the women circle, and just my church and my community and my friends, and this group of women who I met through a radical remission, other women with cancer group. It was just, it gave me hope, you know, and it gave me hope. And finally, after about 9 months, the side effects to the chemotherapy finally subsided. It took a while, but they finally subsided. So yeah, so I'm still on that immunotherapy journey right now.
Will you be on immunotherapy for the rest of your life? Or how does that work? Like,
No, I won't be. I don't know how much further you'd like me to go,
well,
but
well, yeah. Why don't we start?
Okay.
Why don't we go back to Lynn?
Yeah,
And
okay.
and we'll start on her start, and then we'll get you to converge.
Okay, all right. So my journey was, I went for my yearly mammogram, and I got called back because they saw something, and when I got called back, they did another mammogram, and then they did an ultrasound. And then the radiologist came in to see me and said, we see something we're concerned about, so I had to go back for a biopsy. And I remember having the biopsy, and I was supposed to have the results by Friday. And it was Friday, I was at work, and no one had called me yet. And I'm like, I can't make it through the weekend without knowing.
Exactly.
So I called and I got the information over the phone, and just like what you said, I'll never forget hearing that word, those words. You know, I'm sorry to tell you that you have cancer.
And it was over
And
the phone.
It was over the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was at work, but I just handled it, like instantly I just said, what do I need to do? What are my options? You know?
Right, exactly. When do we get started?
Yeah, like let's get
Yeah.
this. And so I was lucky. They made a appointment for me right away that Monday. I saw a surgeon, and he came up with a plan. So I had invasive lobular carcinoma, which is breast cancer, and
It was at stage 3.
it was. And what happened was my tumor was so large, but it was near my chest wall. So it wasn't showing up in mammograms because I go every year.
I was just gonna say. So you went from 1 year nothing to the next year.
Yes.
Stage 3
and
breast
it
cancer.
probably was there prior, but
Right.
it just was in a location that it wasn't showing. But then it grew large enough
Where it showed up.
that it showed up.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Right.
In a way.
Would it have showed up on a 3D? Because I don't know if 3D was. That
3D
was 10
was
years
not.
ago.
Yeah, 3D was just
Right.
coming out
The 3D
during that time.
mammograms.
I don't think it was even an option because I remember going to a ceremony for UMass where they were having the 3D machine and everything
Okay. Oh.
after
Okay.
I was diagnosed.
Okay.
So I don't
Okay.
think it was an option, but I bet you it would. That would be my guess. Unprofessional, but I would think it would.
I would think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most women have ductal carcinoma, which that would show up because that's in a different
breast
part
ducts,
in the breast ducts. So I met with the surgeon, and our original plan was a lumpectomy to have the tumor removed. But he had me go for an MRI. You go for a lot of tests after you're diagnosed with cancer, a lot of tests.
A lot.
A whole week. I just was getting tests all week long, and the tumor was larger than they thought. So he said, "We'll go in and we need to remove your breast." So I said, "Okay, how is it possible for this to come back on the other side?" You know, and he said, "Well, the type of cancer you have, it is possible." So we made the decision together, my surgeon and I, to just remove
Do a
both.
double.
So I had a double mastectomy. And he removed lymph nodes and everything. So I was lucky that it hadn't traveled. And that's really lucky for me. So I finished that. And then I had the double mastectomy, and that's actually when I met Michelle. Because after you have a double mastectomy, you can't move your arms
Right.
at all from the surgery and everything. So she was my physical therapist?
Occupational
therapist.
That was your OT.
That came over and helped me get my strength back in my arms every day and
Yeah.
everything. And she was such I just look forward to her visits all the time.
It's beyond the OT.
I
Yeah.
hope the OT's coming.
We had so much fun. I think I would stay well over an hour.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
And it
work there
was-
anymore, but I would stay well over an hour.
We did have a good time, and she brightened my day too, because I was a single parent, and my kids were younger, and they were teenagers, and at that time. But so I had to go back to my treatment. So I had the double mastectomy, and then exactly a month later I started chemotherapy, and I had dose dense chemo, which is every 2 weeks they give you the chemo instead of every 3 weeks. So I had to, in between my chemo, I had to give myself shots in my stomach to build my blood back up. And at first I was like, I can't do that, but you can do it. And that's what I tell people, like you do make those choices.
Right.
And so I had to give myself 8 shots after I had my chemo, and then I would be ready for my next chemo. So I had 8 rounds of chemo, and I had 3 different types of chemo. Two of them were given together, and then another kind. After my chemo, I had 31 radiation treatments. After that, and that all lasted 7 months. So, and then they just set you free and say you're done, and that's kind of the scary part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is
Wow.
scary because you're used to being taken care of.
Exactly.
And
kind
watch.
of a little bubble
Yeah.
of supports.
Yeah, and they're always checking you out, your
Yeah,
blood,
your labs, yeah.
side effects. Some of the chemos I did wind up in the hospital after one, but it wound up being nothing major. But I had to stay a few days because I had a reaction when I switched to the second type of chemo. But other than that, it was a long 7 months, but I always looked at the bright side, like Michelle's visit, or even my chemo nurse, Anita. She was wonderful and supportive and positive. So you just made this circle of friends.
Absolutely, it's a new circle of friends
It's a
that
new
you
circle
were
of
making all of a
friends.
sudden. You
Yeah.
know, all of a sudden your path is kind of going in a different direction, like we just talked about at the
Exactly.
beginning. It's like, you know, all of a sudden you're meeting all these different people,
Right.
and that's where I think both of you took your diagnosis and said, okay, I can curl up in a ball. I can say, I don't want, you know, I'm just gonna stay here and be, you know, sad, depressed, you know, or I'm gonna go out in the world and I'm gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
And both of you, in my view, have really made a difference in this world. And we'll get to your
And for yourselves.
yeah, and for
I mean,
yourselves
Yeah.
and for your children, and what an example for your children to be able to say, wow, look at my mom, you know, she's a
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a great thing. So, so we talked a little bit about your support networks, but what changed in your life from your cancer diagnosis?
Oh, quite a bit, actually. Well, I think when anybody's faced with, you know, that death, basically, you know, cancer to me at that point meant death. And when anybody's faced with a life-threatening illness like that, I mean, I'd never made a bucket list before in my life, but I'm making this short, you know, I started making this short list, and what I found on the list was I didn't want anything. You know, I wanted time.
Right.
You know, I wanted
Absolutely.
to be with my family. I wanted to have memories. I wanted to write letters. You know, I was just like, okay, I need to write letters, you know, to my daughter, because what if I'm not here before she graduates high school? She needs to know all these things,
Yeah.
you know, and
Wow, that must have
and
been
so
scary for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and so what I learned, and although, you know, I don't think anybody ever, I think Stephen Covey said this, nobody ever says on their deathbed, gee, I wish I worked more, or I wish I spent more time in the office.
No.
No.
But I did continue to work for about 6 months from home. The people I worked with, and I think I shared this during the first time we met, they were just unbelievably supportive, and so I felt, you know, like it was a good distraction for me at the time. But you know, I think as time's gone on, and I realized that what I really need is time, or what I really wanted was time, and I wasn't sure how much time I had. It really made me focus on the now, and you know, and really delving into some of the key points that, I took, from this cancer diagnosis is, yes, I drastically changed my diet. I from this radical remission workshop that I attended with my husband, and he was just so super supportive of me. I got rid of all these suppressed emotions, and negative emotions. I thought, things positively, and, I had a spiritual network. I think what really happened for me, and I can't pinpoint when it actually happened, it probably was in the hospital during my first, when I was diagnosed. I think I had a spiritual awakening of a sense. As devastating as the news was, I knew I couldn't continue to live the way that I was living. That I did have a choice, as you mentioned. And, I could choose to wallow and have self-pity and give up, in a sense. Or I could really, have hope, and I think that's the, and think positively and take whatever I can, I think I also realized that the purpose in my life isn't to stay busy, if there's a message, in this mess, because that's what I kept thinking, like, okay, why is this happening to me, and then from Marsha's group, we shift that around and we say, okay, what is, make your message, or why is this happening for me? This is happening for me. And today, I look at cancer as, I look at my diagnosis, and I know for some people it's different, but for me, I look at cancer as a gift. It really has, it's given me the gift to realize that I'm enough, and I'm special just as I am, and that, we are all, children of God, and we're here to shine our light, and don't complicate life, and I was complicating it. I was working too much. I was way too busy, and I just was off balance, and life was a struggle. It was like, okay, am I achieving enough? Am I working hard enough? And when I just accepted, I think that's another big message, when you just accept your diagnosis,
Right.
and you say, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is me. My body caused this, so therefore my body can heal it some way. And we were talking earlier, whether it's through laughter, or
Right.
whether it's through diet, supplements, energy healing. There's all sorts of methods that people
Yes.
use.
Yeah.
communicating,
sharing your story, like you said too, just
Right.
really sharing your story.
That's purging. I really do. I feel like
Yeah.
it just sometimes if you sit in your own story,
Mm-hmm.
you make things, different scenarios
Yeah.
that really aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say it out loud,
Yeah.
then it kind of gets out of you.
It's true.
You know?
And when people say to me, like when I'll go for walks with my girlfriends or whatever, and of course the doors were pouring, people were coming in because I didn't know how much longer I had, really, and there were some family members that, were like, oh, you better hurry up and go see Marie. She's not going to be here,
my
and
gosh.
it was
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
please, and
Right.
boy, she's putting on a good show, isn't she? And I'm like, "No, I'm just being me. I'm just loving the children and,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
being myself, but some people look at it more as the black cloud versus, there is some sun, shining through there,
I think that the biggest thing that you were talking about was I wasn't thinking about anything other than the now.
Yeah.
And every day we're always like, oh, tomorrow I've got to do this, and then on Saturday I have to do this, and next week this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and that, and you're always looking towards something else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for you were like, okay, I want time, so I have time, and the time is right now.
Exactly.
And that's what you learned about yourself,
Yes.
and you learned to enjoy it and sit with yourself and enjoy the now.
That is so true. And if I
Yeah.
don't have that
Yeah.
that now time, every single day, to just be alone, you know, pray, meditate, just kind of be still, and I like to say be still and know, right? And just and know that this is a miracle. Today's a miracle. I'm
Right.
here,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're all here.
Exactly.
We're all miracles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We are.
Definitely.
Marie.
Yeah.
I
I
always
know,
say this
she's-
to her. She's just, you give me chills every time I hear you
know.
talk. Every
We
time.
are.
In our women's groups, I'm always like, oh, Marie.
How do you do it?
Oh, I was having such a lousy day, but you just brightened it,
Well,
really, yeah.
we just complicate life.
We do.
We complicate life so
much.
much. And I complicated life
Yeah.
to the point where I think, I
So,
suppressed so much.
many
to
of
the
us-
point I
Yeah.
I was
Learn
killing
from you.
myself.
Right.
Yeah, you're a good teacher, but
Yeah.
you used something that could be so devastating, and you're really using it to really inspire other people. And I think the same thing with Lynn. I mean,
Yeah.
Lynn, you've just done.
Talk about your amazing
I know.
stuff.
Oh,
Well,
I
I think with Lynn, it's funny because we did talk. We've been talking quite a bit before the show, and Lynn, when Lynn was, I said, well, Lynn, would you have done all this,
No.
BC before cancer? And
Right.
she's like, nope.
No.
No.
Nope,
Yeah.
that wasn't. So you are a different person
I'm a
Because of
totally
it.
different person.
because of it.
And something that Marie said hit home with me too is I look at my cancer as a blessing and a gift.
Yeah,
Without
that's
a
just-
doubt.
I think that's so amazing
it
for
is.
people
It just-
to even
I-
think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I would,
just-
yeah, we wouldn't be who we are today without it.
We wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And we're also able to help people, and even just by being here and sharing our stories, hopefully that helps somebody that might be going through something similar,
That's so true.
right?
Absolutely, because
And-
it's so, there could be somebody watching right now that was just diagnosed, going through this journey, just hitting those obstacles that we were talking about.
Right.
Before the show, we were talking about, we'll talk about obstacles, but yeah, you just.
That's
yeah.
one thing that's really important to me is that if there are people like that, to reach out, at least to your hospital or your doctor, and ask if there's anyone you can talk to. I'm always willing to talk to somebody. I do that. That's one of the things I do is I mentor women, usually when they're first diagnosed, and just give them some steps
That's wonderful.
on how to deal with what they're about to go through, and know that and hear from someone who's lived it and done it.
Right. Well, when did it start changing for you?
Um,
Immediately, or did it take a little bit of time?
I know that it's right after I had my surgery, pretty much immediately. I remember lying there after my surgery, and I just, one of my friends called me, and she said, "How'd you do?" And I said, "I am going to make sure no woman goes through this alone." That was the first thing that I said. I wasn't thinking of myself. I was thinking of others, and I was just like, it's just, you need to have a support system, and I was blessed with one. My family, obviously, and my coworkers were wonderful. When I went through chemo, I was home with my two kids. They were 14 and 17
And
when I was
another-
diagnosed.
Another different challenging
Yeah.
time in your life.
So,
Like,
but I also appreciated time, and I remember thinking, I'm able to be here all day with my 14 and 17-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Who gets
Right.
that opportunity,
That's true.
right? So I was always with them. So I thought that was such a positive that I got to be there during that formative years of their life. And but they brought me meals every 3 days. Someone would drop me off a meal. And they had a whole chain of people when I was going through the chemo, because they knew it was going to be hard for me to do that. And it was wonderful, and every day I'd go to my mailbox, and I'm not exaggerating, every day there was a card in my mailbox.
Wow. That's wonderful.
So they just sent,
did they have the party for you too?
They had
Because
a
I was
big-
when I did OT with you, they had some kind of party.
yeah, they did a benefit.
Oh, that's
for
right.
me.
It was a benefit. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, because one of the things when you go through cancer, and I was on long-term disability, you don't get your full pay.
Right.
And so being a single parent, that was a little hard, but they helped me out. We had a big benefit. They rented a hall. They went to Walmarts and collected money and everything.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
So they did a lot for me and helped me a lot. So that was a huge support for me. And it just made me feel like I wasn't alone. I remember when I went in for my surgery, all the cards that I had so far, I brought them in a little Ziploc bag. And I said, I want these in the operating room with me. I'm sure they took them out right away, but.
Well, that's okay.
And
They
I
were
said,
there somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm like, I want these with me because I just felt like then I was there with all that support and love around me.
Exactly, the positive energy.
Yeah, and so time was definitely something that I still to this day appreciate time. And I also felt like love.
Yeah.
Like I was like, now I know what love is. And it's just amazing to feel that and experience it.
It is.
So what kinds of crazy things did you start doing? Did you go back to your job after?
I did go back to my job, so
okay.
I was out of work for 7 months,
Okay.
from March till the end of October 21st. I know the exact dates. You don't forget
course you
dates
do.
anymore. And actually, this year is my 10-year anniversary.
Awesome.
So October 21st will be a big celebration for me. So I went back to work, and my first year back to work, I felt I wasn't doing anything, but I had this burning desire inside of me that this isn't enough.
Right, you were because you were changed.
I was changed. And so I always had this way of, I like to speak with people and talk. And so I joined Toastmasters. And I was a nervous wreck. And I went into this Toastmaster group and I met everybody.
Tell us what Toastmasters. Just
Oh.
because I know what it is. But I
Okay,
don't
well,
know if I-
Toastmasters
speaking.
is,
Yeah, public
it's
speaking.
public speaking. So
Oh
it's a,
gosh, that's like
and communication and public
Theater.
speaking, and it's an international, so it's actually it's worldwide, and there's different groups. So every town, or not every town, but there's probably one around Northbridge and everything, and you can go there and you learn how to be a leader and how to be a public speaker. So I was like, oh, maybe this is what I need to do, because I think that I want to speak. And so I went and I walked to the first meeting and I was a guest, and they said to me, Lynn, would you like to speak tonight? And I'm like, no. But it did.
No time like the present.
I'm like, they said, well, just tell us why you're here. Get up and talk for 5 to 7 minutes and tell us why you're here. And I got up and told my story in a 5 to 7 minute version of it. And I was hooked. And so I've took part in Toastmasters to help me grow. And then I was able to speak. St. Vincent's Hospital has a Cancer Survivor Day. Every year, it's usually around the first Sunday in June. And I was able to speak at that in front of a lot of people, and that was really fun. And so I've continued on my Toastmaster journey, and it's something I want to do more of, actually, is to get out there and tell my story. And I've done that a lot, but I also get joy out of helping people that come to it that are really nervous to speak in front of public, and I just love watching them grow. They come in so scared, and then they're out doing these wonderful things. So it's another way to help people.
You actually came to my house one time.
I did.
When I was starting to speak
Yeah.
at conferences and things like that, and I was asking your advice
Yeah,
on speaking. That was a while ago.
that was a while
It just
ago.
literally, I just remembered we did that.
Yeah, yeah, I did. And so I'm not even just doing it for the cancer. It's just become a part of me now.
Right.
I've always felt like I had this ability to help people. It's what I'd like to do,
Right.
is to help people. And this is the way that I found that really connects with me. I did during COVID. I did give up most of the going to the meetings because they were online, but I've started up again, and I'm like, I miss this. So I know it's part of me, and that's something I would have never done, ever.
Yeah.
So
And since then, also, you've you were on the board at St. V's?
yeah, so at St. Vincent's Hospital, when I went through my treatments, everything was still at the hospital, but they were building the cancer center.
It's beautiful.
So I was on the board of the Oncology Patient Advisory Council. There were 4 of us, and we were helped give advice on how to make a patient's experience at the cancer center more comforting.
That's great.
And it could be something little like you need to put more signage up in the parking lot so that people know
little
where to
details.
go
Yeah.
and like where the doctor is, what floor they're on, because when people get there, they're nervous. In radiation, when you're waiting to have your radiation, you're usually sitting there in a gown. And I said maybe we could have nice robes, you know, so
Yeah.
Spa.
I know.
What a great idea.
Exactly.
Yes.
and we also worked on a handbook to help people that are newly diagnosed, giving them tips on how to face their journey and what to ask and what to expect and where to reach for help.
Right.
And just sharing our experiences as people that had gone through cancer. So that was really fun. And then I also, at St. Vincent's, I was on the wall of inspiration.
Show your picture. Well, I don't know if you can see
Can
it.
I
Maybe
grab it?
Sure. You can hold it, or Kelly can hold it up. Oh, the red
Okay.
light. Red light. There you go. There we go.
Yeah, so this is a picture that they chose 8 people. It's on the 3rd floor at St. Vincent's Cancer Center. This is a small version of it, but they had 8 people and they call it their wall of inspiration.
Oh, isn't that nice?
So it's
wonderful.
people that have had cancer, and they also had a writer. They had a professional photographer come and do photo shoots with us, which was kind of fun. I felt like a model for the day. And then they also had a writer call us, and we told our story, and they wrote a story about us, and it's on a plaque under our pictures.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, so I felt privileged that they asked me to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
That's
I
great.
sometimes people go there and they're like, "Oh, I saw you today.
On the wall.
I saw you on the wall."
Wall of inspiration.
Yeah.
That's
I don't really want
wonderful.
people to be seeing me there, but but if
That's
Yeah.
great.
yeah, it's just nice, and you know, so those are a few of the things that I've done. Yeah.
But you're both have a little bit of a presence on social media. You do some really beautiful writing but you're mostly on Marcia's social media, correct? When you do a
No,
lot
I
of
do
your
it.
writing?
I do it public, and
You do.
then she'll ask me to post it on her page,
All right. Okay.
and so then
okay,
I'll just post
okay.
it in both places. But
But really some inspirational writing from both of you, because you started your own Facebook page called Shine Your Light.
Yes.
Yep. And then you do some beautiful writing.
yeah, it's just on my own personal. But friend me if you want. Yeah. I find, it was my way of journaling in a sense. And, it really was therapeutic for me, and then I realized at the end of the year when they said, hey, would you like your social media book? I have now a book of hope. All the postings that I made,
Yes.
I've put into a photo book.
Oh, nice.
Now I have those years of
Yeah.
inspirational posts and all the things that I've said.
Right.
So I can use that now to give to my children,
Exactly.
right, as the letters of
Right.
inspiration and hope.
Right.
So it's really been therapeutic for me, and I think with COVID hitting, just going internal even more so, like a lot of people had to, did or
Yeah.
didn't
Right.
have to, but
Right.
I think it just was that extra piece of inspiration, to say, okay, to really go deeper,
Right.
to really go deeper and to really start putting words, to the feelings that I'm having.
And you get a really great response from
I
it
do,
too. Do they give you
yeah.
the responses in the book too, or
Yes,
just they do?
They do.
Oh, nice.
So you
Yeah.
can get those nice little
Yeah.
responses.
That's-
Yeah.
I didn't know
It's all
they
captured.
Yeah,
they
it's all,
did
I didn't
that.
realize that
Wow.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
captured.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could do that with yours.
Yeah. I actually was like, oh, that's a great idea.
Oh, okay.
I could do that. Yeah, I just started doing mine, and I actually took over a page someone else had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make it my own, and I'm trying to come up with like a plan and the best way to do it. And
Yeah.
So it's not in full swing yet, but I'm doing the best I can to help people shine their light.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw in your bio, Marie, that you are doing some hospice volunteering.
Yes, so, which is something I would have never thought of doing.
Right.
I've worked, like you said, 30-plus years in the biotech industry, very fast-paced, very hectic, crazy lifestyle. And during COVID, I was walking with a friend, and she said, you would be really good at, and because she said I was good at listening and just inspiring, and when she said, like nursing or something along those lines, I looked into, the hospice care, because she had mentioned a friend of hers who did hospice care. And so I went through all the training in December, January, February. Things were still all closed up because of COVID, so it's really hard to, find centers where you can go and visit people. But starting next week, I'll be shadowing, and
Nice.
yeah, and I'm helping in their, since then, I've been helping in their office, sending out bereavement letters and cards, and I'm getting to know the ropes a little bit more about how hospice care works, and then I'll be a companion for patients. Because I think that just being there for somebody,
Right.
and just looking at the light in their eyes, because, I really, truly believe that, you don't really have pain when you die. I think that most people, especially if they're in hospice care, have come to the point where they've accepted it,
Right.
and they just don't want to be alone,
Right.
Exactly.
and they just want somebody there, whether it's holding their hand, listening to music, reading them a story or a Bible or whatever it might be, depending on their culture.
Right.
I just think it'll be rewarding. It'll be a gift for them as they go through their unique experience, and it'll be a gift for me too.
Of course.
And I have tools now in my
Right.
toolbox to replenish myself.
Right.
If it's draining, emotionally.
Right. To
I know
pull
how,
back if you need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of the things that I've been through.
I think hospice care is so important, and we were just talking about this today, because we work at a senior center, and we do see people who are alone, who don't have support networks, who don't have family, and so to volunteer as a hospice care person, it's so important because you might be the only person that's holding their hand,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and that we were just talking about
So
that
true.
today.
Yeah.
And you both are so fortunate you had such a great network of support between work people and your friends. And
Yeah.
were there any support groups through the hospitals that you were at?
I was part of a support group for breast cancer.
Okay.
It wasn't through the hospital, but I found out
Oh,
about
okay.
it through the hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
At Dana-Farber, they didn't really they had different support groups, but nobody that fell into
Specific to you.
specifics. But I did use their social services, and then through my church, there's a cancer support group
nice.
through my church.
Good.
And they're actually Cancer Survivor Network is what their acronym is, CSN. And when you said Cancer Survivor, I think, well, I guess I'm surviving. I'm not a survivor yet, totally, but for me, there is no cure, they say, for my type of cancer, and but maybe there is, but maybe the way that I like to think of it is maybe the cure is already coursing through my veins,
Exactly.
and and I just have to keep that hope and keep that mindset, and talk to those cells and let my body heal itself, by living healthy lifestyle, and not giving up that hope, and not giving up, thinking
Right.
that there could be, because there's no statistics for me. Like when I say, well, so right now my cancer is at the point, the tumor has shrunk to the point where before it was too large and too invasive to do surgery, and because it was had metastasized to my lungs, they were afraid to do that as well. But now it's been clear in my lungs, so I have no more cancer in my lungs,
Oh, wow.
Great, that's
or at least no
fantastic.
evidence of it,
Okay.
Fantastic.
and I'm a candidate for surgery.
Oh.
which is,
nice.
which is my next option. So after my next scan, so I'm going
Okay.
through treatment still. You had asked, am I going to be on immunotherapy for the rest of my life?
Right.
I have been for 2 years now. The average person is on it for about this particular immunotherapy. So far, a maximum of like 3 to 5 years, and that's their life. It no longer works because your cancer cells grow resistant, to the immunotherapy, or to the treatment. But my cancer has been at bay, and it hasn't grown at all in the course of the last year. And it's, it could be surgically removed last October, but I have a good quality of life, and I'm living okay,
Right.
But I think this year I'm seriously considering having the surgery.
Okay.
And so it'll be a liver resection. Part of my liver will come out, and there's no guarantees. There's risks to
Right.
everything.
Right.
And then I'll probably stay on the immunotherapy for another year post-surgery.
Okay.
And at that point, if things stay undetected, then I can, get off the immunotherapy treatment and just go for probably every 6 months or
Yeah.
3 months, every
It's like a
so often.
maintenance type
Yeah, maintenance.
program.
But don't you feel like there's always something new on the horizon
There is.
in medicine,
is.
There always
in the
is.
science,
Yeah.
with cancer
Yeah.
especially?
Right.
Yeah.
Something always
There
coming
always
up that's,
is.
I mean, I had never heard of immunotherapy. I think maybe I think with you, I think that's when I first heard of immunotherapy.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's so much gentler on my system. I
Right.
mean, that there are really, the side effects are fatigue,
Right.
and
Right.
which is, when people say fatigue, oh, you're tired. No, it's
No,
worse
it's-
than that.
It is different.
And
'Cause you get
fatigue
like-
is, yeah.
Yeah,
You're down for the count,
don't
right?
want to get out of bed. You just don't want to get out of bed,
Right.
right?
Like,
Right.
I never napped
Yeah.
before.
Right.
What's up?
It's
What's
a
wrong with
different
me?
kind of, it's
It is.
tired.
Yeah.
But it's, there's, again, it's that message of hope,
Yeah.
that,
Right.
if I could,
You have a plan.
yes,
Yes.
And it does. It gives you hope for the future. And so you're not going to give up.
no.
No.
And you're
Ever.
living. You're not a survivor. You're living with cancer.
That is-
and
Yes.
it's not. I'm a cancer patient.
That's right.
I'm living with cancer.
Yes, I'm living with cancer. And
Exactly.
actually, the Jimmy Fund called and
Yeah.
asked me to do my story because when the doctors saw that I
Which is
was
so
now
good.
that it had shrunk so much, according to the Dana-Farber board, my doctor said that their jaws all dropped and they were like, wow, this won't,
She's amazing.
So let's write her a story. And my
Yeah.
brother, who's a doctor, is like, you're going to be in medical books. I just know it,
Yeah.
So it's
He's right.
exciting.
It is exciting.
It's exciting.
And you can look at your story is on the Jimmy Fund.
yes, the Jimmy Fund.
Is it?
Social media or jimmyfund.org.
Okay.
And then I think if you go to their social media page,
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
it's
it
a
was
story from
inspirational, but that
2020,
was
yeah.
I think that was what the thing was, is that you're living with cancer. I
Yes,
think you
living
did
with
say
stage
that.
4
Yeah.
cancer.
Yes.
Because it'll never be. So I said, okay, am I not in stage 4 anymore?
Right.
Is it now stage 2
Yeah,
maybe? And
yeah.
like, no, it'll always be stage
It
4.
will always be.
Well, how come that is? I don't understand.
It's the way that it's diagnosed.
Even
It'll always
after
be.
surgery, it would still be considered because that's how the initial diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you always
Is-
go by your initial
Yeah.
Okay.
diagnosis,
Oh,
yeah.
all right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, you're living with it and not
Yeah.
working against it. Not you're kind
yeah.
of just
Right.
sort of embricing it, as crazy
That's
as that
right.
might sound.
Right.
Well, it's true, and I think it was Albert Einstein, I think it was Albert Einstein who, basically says there are 2 ways to live your life, right? You can either live it as if nothing is a miracle, or you can live it as if everything's a miracle.
Every
And so, and so that's how I choose to live. I'm a miracle, You're a miracle. You're a miracle.
know.
You're a miracle.
I think you
We're
both
all
are. You're both
miracles.
inspirational. I mean, really. 10 years. It's
I know.
Yeah,
wonderful.
10 years,
Wonderful for 10 years,
Yeah,
cancer
know,
free. I know. I
I
hope
know.
everybody's applauding
Yeah.
her. And Lynne, they're fantastic and doing such fantastic things.
Yeah.
And Marie, living with cancer and living in the now and
Yes.
and using your voices to help others is
Yeah.
so important. So we have 5 minutes left.
Yes.
So we
Okay.
thought we
Yeah.
would do a little something. If each one of you would just let us know What advice would you give to the women out there that we had talked about, possibly who have just been diagnosed with cancer, who are going on this journey right now? Lynn, why don't we start with you? What
Okay.
advice would you give to the women out there?
The advice that I would give is first, when you get that diagnosis, allow yourself to feel it, and then go through it slowly. Don't look ahead of what's going to happen. Take it step by step. Things can change while you're going through your journey, but so I think it's important to take everything step by step by step. I would also say to allow the people around you that really care for you to help you. Let them be there for you. Let them make you meals. Let them bring you flowers. Let them help you. I think that's really important to allow people, because a lot of women, we tend to do things for everyone, and it's hard to accept that. But I think that's important too. So I would say take things step by step, and allow people to help you, and just to feel the love that you're going to receive, and know that you should always choose hope.
Go ahead, Marie, you're up.
Ditto. No.
Very good.
I think that's a great message, and it's really in line with what I would
Yeah.
say as well, that always choose hope. I think if there's any message, it's a message of hope, and to never, not never, but just because you're given a diagnosis and there might be books of statistics, everybody's unique. Everybody's an individual. And statistics are just that. They're statistics. They're not you. And I'm not a statistics. I am me, and I'm my own data. And, you can heal yourself. You can. And I don't mean it like in a wishy-washy type of way. I just mean, that you really can make a difference in your life by being hopeful, by being compassionate, by opening your heart and really accepting, as Lynn said, accepting and just letting go of the worry, letting go of the angst. Yes, you can't help but feel those devastating fears, but they're really, if you surrender and let go, because there's really nothing you can do to control it, and just never give up hope and rely on those. Yes, know that you're enough. Yes, and rely on the help that you get. Yeah, because it is very hard for women, I think, to accept help.
I think so too.
And to just take it.
Yeah.
And to take it. And
Yeah.
take time for you.
Yes,
Take time for you.
that's important.
As they always say, fill your own cup, right?
Exactly.
Fill your own cup first.
Yeah.
Well, we are out of time, and that went by very, very
Yes,
fast,
it
didn't it?
did.
One of the reminders I'd like to just give everybody that's out there right now, women especially, especially women, get your mammogram.
Yes.
Get your mammogram
Yes.
every year. Lynn's
Yeah.
living proof
Yeah.
that it's really necessary. Women, take care of yourselves, and
Yes.
please always know that you're a woman of worth. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.